Hey everyone, welcome back to Beauty School Bobby. Today I'm here with my friend and very special guest, Evan Silver.
Hey!
Evan, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for waiting on me. I got stuck in traffic, but I made it. So thanks for having me.
That's all that matters.
And thanks to all the production crew because they waited around. So
this
you got a great team.
This is when it was meant to happen. Our interview, had we done it at 1 o'clock, would have been terrible. This is going to be a good interview.
Yes.
This will be the good one.
Yes.
So it's worth it. I was going to do an intro on you, but you have several different things that you are doing in the industry. How do you explain yourself? What's your intro to people? What's your elevator pitch?
It's a great question. So I kind of feel kind of kooky saying this, like I'm a coach. Because if you go on Instagram right now, everybody's a coach.
Yes.
Well, I'm a father and husband first. Let me say that. Mentor of mine, I told him about all the hats I wear. And he was like, you forgot one. You're a father and husband. I was like, that's why you're my mentor. So that's my first thing I do. And then I'm a salon owner. My wife and I own a salon in Greeneville, South Carolina. And then a couple of years ago, coaching kind of fell in my lap. And then last year in 2021, I've always had a passion for leadership and culture. Mm-hmm. And I started going into salons and seeing that there was one salon said, hey, I have a manager. She needs leadership development. Where do I send her? And I just kind of stalled. And I was like, well, there's podcasts, there's YouTube, there's books, but like there's no real path unless you want to go to like Disney or John Maxwell and you're going to spend, $8 to 10 grand.
Right.
And a fire started in me and I'm like, this might be a time for me to start focusing on leadership and culture in the salon industry.
Yeah.
And so that's a long elevator pitch, but
yeah, no, I love that. That explains what you're doing, I think, perfectly, because there are so many different pieces. But I think what you're doing more now is more of the coaching and is more of like traveling and just like really being a resource for people in the industry to have an understanding of what all of this means. And like you were saying earlier, like the relationship part of it, like really making sure that people are connecting with brands and understanding like the salon side of it. So there's a lot, but I love that you're wearing so many hats. I think that that's amazing. And I think it keeps everything interesting and exciting too.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Do you do the Enneagram?
You got me on this. Wait, didn't I text you? Wait, I texted you after last time. Was I 7? No.
Oh, you got to be a 7.
Was I?
Because I'm a 7.
But remember I texted you and I was like, what does this
This might
mean?
last all day long with 2 7s. So
this
prepare yourself for 3 hours.
Ever. But yeah, I think I texted you and I was like, okay, I took the quiz. What does it mean? Like, I didn't even look up what it meant. I was like, I'll just let Evan tell me what it is and but it was something, the one thing that you said made sense was about like the being driven, motivated, like whatever, but also like the feeling for people.
So 7s, we're like entertainers.
Okay.
I'm a great.
I want to change my name to Bobby the Entertainer. Can we just make a note?
That does roll off the tongue really well.
Switch that?
But like, so I love to dream big. I'm not the person who's going to follow it to the end. Like I come up with the ideas all the time.
Yes.
Which I found out stresses our staff out at the salon because I would come up with ideas all the time. Well, change to, a lot of people don't like change. Well, they do like change. They don't like change that they are not in control of. Mm-hmm. So I had someone in a one-on-one say, well, I just don't like change. I'm like, you're getting married. You just bought a new house. You got a new car. That's change. And they're like, well, I like that. I'm like, you don't like change that you're not in complete control of.
Yeah.
So I've realized as a 7, I have to control myself because when I change things all the time, I can stress our staff out at the salon. So 7s are great. You don't want to have a salon or a company full of 7s. Mm-hmm. And my wife is actually a 1. She's a perfectionist. So 7,
that's perfect.
7, 7 and 1. She's the one like, grounded.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that's like, hey, let's move here. Let's go here. And she's like, hang on. We got to tell everybody the why, what we're doing. So
that's awesome.
We work very well together. I didn't think that was going to happen when I came full-time into the salon.
And that was how many years ago?
2018 is when we started the salon in 2012. I came on full-time in 2018.
Okay. So tell me about that transition of you coming into the salon and what kind of sparked your interest. I mean, a lot of couples, I guess, that we've met. I mean, there's a ton in the beauty industry of salon owner, husband, wife, partners, whatever it is that are working together. And it's always like, I'm always so interested in how this works because it's tricky to navigate that change. And most of it happens exactly the way that it happened with you, where there was already a business, there was already a salon. One of the people in the relationship had already been there and then somebody else comes in. So how did you get the eye to be like, okay, I want to do this or I have to do that? Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, I guess I saw myself being a part of the salon years down the road. But long story short, my wife came to me and she was just like, hey, I've grown the company as much as I can being behind the chair full time. And she was like, that kind of, again, sparked something where I'm like, what if I transition into the company? What does that look like? Like financially, what does that look like? And so the job that I had previous, they let me stay on for 6 more months. And we just saved my income for 6 months and made the transition. So I thought I would come in, I would have the sit at a desk, 30,000 foot view. This is where we're going. This is our vision. And that was so far from the truth. Our front desk person about 3 weeks before was like, hey, I'm going to go pursue marketing. And so my wife was like, can you wait till Evan gets here?
Yeah.
So my first day I'm working front desk.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what a half highlight is, a single process. I knew what a haircut was.
Yeah.
But I made so many mistakes. And now when we hire people on orientation their first day, I tell them, I'm like, hey, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to cost this company money, sometimes a lot of money. It's okay. Because I did the same thing. So even though I didn't plan that, I gained so much equity with our staff because I was in the trenches with them.
Yeah.
I had to rely on, I was asking them, I'm like, hey, do you have a free minute? Can you come tell me the difference between all these products?
But what's so cool is what you're doing now, you have the full understanding of the business. Like you said, you thought like maybe you were just going to be back there like, hey, I'm going to put our marketing budget here. I'm going to do this or that. Like, you're in it and you might not have, I mean, you probably, I'm sure would have been like the salon would have been just as successful as it is, but all of these other things that have come from it, I think that's so cool that that's ended up being how it happened. Because I just think that experience is so important for you to understand all roles and being a leader. Like you're working directly with like tomorrow, when you go into the salon that you're coaching tomorrow, you're going to be talking to somebody that works front desk. And that's amazing. I think that's awesome. And I don't know that you maybe would have had all of the perspective that you have now had it not happened that way.
Absolutely. Because I don't do hair.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So, but I'm in our company. When I'm not traveling, I'm in there as much as possible. And I have it on my calendar.
Yeah.
And so I tell people, I'm like, when you're hiring a coach, you're hiring somebody to come in and give you business advice. First off, you need to make sure that they're involved in their company.
Right.
Second thing is I tell the people, I'm like, if you're thinking about bringing me on as a coach, you need to go on Instagram, find out who works in our company and message them and say, hey, I'm looking to bring Evan on. Does he live out what he teaches in the salon? And so that's the integrity part. Because there's times where I'm like, I have to shift what I'm teaching because I'm like, you know what? I don't fully live that out. So I can't teach that. And so integrity is a huge thing for me. And
that is like 100% what makes you different. I honestly think that just being like that aware of it is going to keep you accountable for sure, not only with your staff, but to everybody that you're visiting. I think with your staff, that's so important to be like, listen, I trust you. And if they reach out, like tell them how it is.
Tell them
that's
the truth.
So awesome. I don't know that there's a lot of people that have that mindset. So I think that that's something that's so important. And even if there is somebody that's in the industry, even just like esthetician or stylist, whatever, I think that's an important message for them too. You don't have to be a salon owner to have that scope on you. Like make sure that you're operating in a way that when your clients say, hey, you know, she does XYZ, like that's upheld. And it's not just on social media or just what they're going to see, you know, when they see you out and like that's really what it is. So I think that that's awesome. That's so cool. So now you've been in the salon for a little bit. Now you're traveling, but you're there. How is everything going in the salon? Like, do you love that you made this decision to come into the salon? Like, do you love going in there? And
I love it because I was at an organization that was very heavy on leadership and culture. And I guess being in that environment, I was like, oh, I thought that was normal.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm realizing and talk to my friends like are in real estate and all this stuff. They're like, leadership and culture, like every industry needs it.
Yes. Absolutely.
And so I love teaching leadership. I love teaching culture. I'm in the salon tomorrow doing a vision day where we're talking about why do you exist? Like, why? It's not because there's a lack of salons.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
Why do you get up? It's got to be more than just to do hair or nails or massages. Like, there's got to be a why of you wake up every morning and unlock the door. And what I love is the salons I've been doing this with. The one I'm doing tomorrow, I think there's going to be 35 people there, which is way more than what I'm accustomed. Like, I like to have like the key people in the company there.
Right.
But we're going to try it tomorrow.
Yeah.
But everybody in that
great.
room, I don't think they're going to understand how pivotal. What? Pivotal. Pivot. Say it for me.
Pivotal.
There you go. Don't edit that out. How that is, because companies don't do that.
Right.
They don't bring everyone in and be like, you're going to get to say a say-so of why we exist and where we're going, why we're going there, and what's it going to be once we get there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think especially over the shift that we've seen and the shift that's happening in the industry, which I know I've talked to you a lot about. I know we're going to talk about it when you come to the beauty school. I mean, there's an obvious change in the industry. And I think right now we're all just kind of riding it out, seeing where it all lands, seeing what is happening and what we're going to do with that growth, number one. I mean, there's just been, and I see it on the side of the beauty school, obviously. I'm seeing so many more people coming into it. I'm seeing so many people wanting to be in this industry. What do we do with all these people? So there's a lot changing. I think this is the perfect time for you to be in the industry. This is when we need you and more people like you kind of guiding it. Because like you said, I definitely catch myself a lot being like, okay, we're all going, we're going here, we're doing this, I want to do, but like, okay, like rein it back in. We've got to regroup and make sure that like this step is leading to this step and getting there. So I think that it's so important that you do that. What's your why?
What's my why?
What's your why? Like, do you talk about this when you go into salons? Like, I know you're working on their whys and all that stuff.
Right.
But
my why personally is to find the potential in people that they don't even see yet and pull that out of them.
Yeah.
So that's why in our company, we only hire people right out of cosmetology school.
Yeah.
And I love it because they come in and they don't even see where they could be in 5 years. They're just focused on, I need to learn a skill or I need to build up my books. And it's just like, I see you like in 5 years being so successful, and successful means different things to different people.
Right.
And so you got to find that out with everyone that's in your company of what that is. If that's time with the family, if that's time like money so you can go travel, finding out that success, whatever that is. But yeah, that's the why for me, the why for our company that our team came up with is to impact people through beauty. So just as simple as that.
And you said your team came up with. So this was something that you guys all decided together. What did the culture of the salon look like when you came in versus what it is today? Is it more of that? Is it more of a group? We're figuring this out together. Is that the difference and kind of change that you brought in, or what is?
Well, the brains behind the operation is my wife.
Right. Yes.
She did.
We know it. Yeah. We know she's the brains. Okay.
Cat's out of the bag. Cat's out of the bag. She did such a phenomenal job. I say she did. She's doing such a phenomenal job. When I came in, I'm like, who did that? She's like, well, I did that. I'm like, well, who did that? She's like, me. I was like, who did this? She's like, me. She was over all the hiring, all the firing. She was over all the meetings. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I would have lasted that long.
So did you know that she was doing all of this before you came in?
I had a clue.
You had no idea.
She would come home and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't have a lunch. I'm like, well, you're in control of your schedule. Why didn't you have a lunch?
Whoa.
Yeah,
okay, wait.
I know what you're thinking. I was naive. I didn't know.
Here's the hate comments. Just won't. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, do you have sponsors for this show?
We do, actually.
Hey, let's take a second to hear from our sponsors.
The Beauty School Bobby podcast is brought to you by Tennessee School of Beauty, the leader in cosmetology education since 1930. As one of the first nationally accredited cosmetology schools in the nation, TSB has been recognized by Modern Salon as one of the top 10 beauty schools in America and voted the top cosmetology school in East Tennessee for 28 consecutive years, offering programs in cosmetology, aesthetics, medical aesthetics, and makeup through MUD as MUD's first standalone satellite location in the United States. TSB has over 20,000 graduates and specializes in helping graduates open their own salons. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, and there's no additional charge for out-of-state tuition. So come see me to start your career in the beauty industry at Tennessee School of Beauty today.
Thank you so much for all of our sponsors, and we are back with Evan. So Evan, we were talking about you coming into the salon and what that looked like for you and the misconceptions that you even had of your wife and what she was doing in the industry as a salon owner, which I love that we can talk about that because I think that that's one of my passions. You know, my why is changing the, vision of the beauty industry and the way that people from the outside see the beauty industry. You know, when I came into it, it was the exact same thing as you. Like, I went into beauty school and I was like, what in the world? Like, these girls and boys, these students are unbelievably smart and so talented and people just have no idea. They go see them, they sit in their chair, they trust them with their hair, but like, they have no clue what is going on. So I love that that's the experience that you had. And I'm sure your wife was like so grateful for you to see that. I definitely think that there's a lot of people out there, especially in this industry, that are like, you just don't know how hard I'm working. Like people think it's so easy. We make it look so easy, And so I love that you had that response and that reaction. Because I'm sure it just like meant the world to her.
Yeah, it was very eye-opening when I got in the salon because I'm like, wow, this is fast-paced. Like, you guys don't have time to sit down. They're like, can you tell our husbands that?
Yeah, exactly.
But I came in, I took over the front desk, the guest experience, a lot of the meetings. I took over hiring and recruiting.
How did the staff feel when you came in?
Oh, this is something we tell couples all the time, is when I came in, the staff thought I was the greatest thing. Like, and so my wife, when we talk to, because there'll be couples reach out and like, hey, like, think about bringing my husband on or my wife on. What's some advice? And my wife's like, you've got to be okay with your staff thinking your spouse coming in is the best thing. Because we went through a time where my wife she was like, hey, we talked about it. And she was just like, hey, can I just be honest with you? Like, I've been doing this for so many years and you come in and now here you are traveling around.
Yeah.
And we talked through that. And so she was very authentic during that time. And I think it was like a few days later, she's like, hey, I'm over it. Like, I don't want to travel. I need to be here with the kids. And so us working together has been such a beautiful thing. Like we're so different that I was like, I just don't know how we're going to be working together.
Yeah.
I think every spouse has like, I don't know.
Marriage is like hard enough and you're dealing, especially with kids, like with parents and like all of that. There's just those bumps that you're like, okay, at least for us and my husband and I work together now also on this project. But, it was like, okay, I have my like safe space or whatever, where I'm like, no, home is my safe space. I shouldn't say safe space, but my place where I'm like escaping to a little bit to be like, okay, I'm here and this is my role here. And then at home, I'm mom and wife and all that stuff. You know what I mean? And so
when you go out to eat, like, do you guys just sit there and stare at each other? Because my wife's like, what are we going to talk about? I was like, I don't know. Like, we work together.
Do you ever sit and stare at anyone?
That's true.
Like, never in my life. You could sit me literally across my wall and I'd be like, this is great. Let me talk to you. Like, no. Like, I don't ever shut up. Like, I do kind of feel bad for him. Like, I sometimes am like, I'm sorry that this is like this. Yes, exactly. Well, exactly like you were saying, where like he's the one that like is way more like detail oriented, where, I'll be like, hey, I like have this idea, and he'll like, he immediately is like, okay, but what about X, Y, Z? And I'm like, I haven't thought about it. And it like makes me mad.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
And sometimes I get like annoyed with him. I'm like, no, but you're missing the exciting part. And he's like, but we can't do it without this. So no, that's like how it goes with us. And there is like that balance. And I think because of the different roles that you have, I love that your wife is humble enough to be like, yeah, I'm going to be okay with this. And we went through it. So I'm going to share our story to help other people. Cause like I said, there are so many couples in this industry that are working together. So I think that's awesome that you have that. But like you said, like her being honest enough to say, I had to check that for a second, but I'm good now. And like, you go do you.
Yeah. I think we all feel that at some point. And she's stepping away from behind the chair on January 11th.
No way.
So yeah, it's been a long time coming.
That's awesome.
But as we grow, she's more valuable to our team out from behind the chair than behind the chair.
Okay, so what is she doing? What's she going to be doing? Like, what's
sleeping in late, standing in her pajamas.
Yeah, right.
No, so we're building a new building.
Oh, awesome.
So at the time of this recording, I don't know when this is going to be released, but we'll be hopefully by early spring of 2023 is when we will be in. But she's going to be taking over. Like there's just a lot of things on our plate that are not a priority.
Yeah.
For instance, weddings. Like we do weddings, but we have so many things we're juggling. It's just like, it's on the list. It's just kind of down here. Like we need to revamp our website. My wife can do that. She's like, that's on my list to do. So there's a marketing stuff. So there's things that we do okay. Maybe people might say, oh, you do those good. She's going to take those things and make them great.
Yeah. So it's those I don't want to say missed opportunities, but that is kind of, we're in a similar season right now, and making some changes to my husband's position and all of that stuff too. So I think what's really interesting is there is a point in your career, okay? And that might be from a stylist, maybe switching salons, going on their own, focusing, specializing, whatever those transitions are, that like when you realize how valuable your time is and what you could be gaining. So what, like, this is not something I'd like planned on talking with you about with you, but this is perfect because when do you know, and I think there's not like a clear answer because everyone's financial situation is different. Everyone's at a different place in their career, but at what point do you kind of know that you need to at least start considering these opportunities? Like for me, I've always, and I don't know who said this or if I like heard this on like a How I Built This or what, but I've heard when things are like repeated, like repetition, right, is like a thing that I don't know, I've noticed, or since I listened to wherever I heard this, I've really like, okay, so somebody asked me to do this multiple times, or you were saying before, like you had an opportunity and you were like, hey, there's this gap here. I need to take it. How do you know, or what tips do you have for somebody that's kind of feeling that, where they're getting asked to do more weddings, but maybe the salon that they're at doesn't do weddings and they're like, okay, I could maybe go out on I mean, that's just a random example. I mean, there's a lot to go behind that. But don't you think that that's like that is a part of somebody's career path almost always, that you're going to be like, okay, it's time for me to pivot. It's time for I'm not leaving the industry by any means, but I'm going to do something a little bit different. I mean, for you all, how did you know? I mean, I guess we can use your wife as the example. Like, how did you know that it was time to make this change? It was like, I'm done behind the chair because this needs me.
Yeah, well, it wasn't easy for her. It took me and other people in the company telling, being like, hey, like, you thought about stepping away? And so she went from 5 days to, I think, 3 days and then 2 days. So she's been talking to a bunch of salon owners about who have stepped away from the chair, and she's been meeting with them. And she was like, well, everyone I've talked to, they've all said, I just did it. Just pulled the plug. She's like, at least I have a plan. So I'm like, you're ahead. And they were okay. So, and in our space, we have a stylist going out on the floor February and one in March. And they don't have a chair. So my wife is technically holding our company back by taking up a chair. So when you start to realize things like that, it's like, oh, okay. And so as you're talking, I was thinking about, a mentor of mine said this. He said, your purpose is when your passion and your an opportunity meets. So like my passion is leadership and culture. And I had an opportunity of the salon world. And that's because of my wife, Right. What if it was, the great thing about my purpose and what I do is you could put me on a construction site. You can put me in the insurance field. Like, it's not tied to, this is just the vehicle I have. I have another friend of mine who just bought a landscaping company. And I was like, are you passionate about landscaping? He's like,
you love mulch
yeah.
or what?
He was like, I'm passionate about raising leaders up, and I need a vehicle to do that. And this was an opportunity. And I'm like, brilliant.
And that is so awesome.
Yeah.
I love just leaving yourself open to that. I think that, I don't know. I think there's a lot of times that one of those things is missing. in your life, but like that doesn't mean it's always going to be gone. Like maybe the opportunity hasn't hit, like you've got this passion and you're like, I love the beauty industry. I'm so obsessed. I want to go to beauty school. I want to do all of these things. And like, you're just like waiting for the opportunity to cross at the same time to make any change to whether it's, like I said, switching salons or, or actually going into the salon. I think with estheticians, this is something that I kind of see a lot is when they graduate, the job market is way, I don't know if you like work in spas or with us. Do you guys have
I really don't.
Okay. You
I
would
really
love them.
don't.
You would
Yeah.
love them. We are psychopaths to that, by the way, because of our energy level.
Oh, it's my massage therapist.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, she just started off on her new place. I've been seeing her for years. I'm like, are you going to do hair? She's like, absolutely not. She's like, hair people are,
I know.
they're too was wild and crazy. Like just the energies up here.
It's completely different. Yeah. But when they come out, it's almost like there will be an opportunity because it's tougher, at least here in Knoxville, to get a job. And, that's something that we've talked about a lot on the show. It's something that we're honest about in appointments at the school, that the job market's tough. Cosmetologists, hired before they graduate. There's so many more opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And with estheticians, it's a little more like, okay, I'm really interested in makeup. I'm going to go that route. I'm really interested in waxing. I'm going to go that route, or, whichever path opens. But I think waiting for that opportunity comes, like I said, at different times. And I think it's just being patient and being ready for that. And so I think that that's an important thing to remember too, is like, you might not be, you're in the industry and maybe you're feeling like, okay, I've been in this for like a little bit and it's just not, I'm drained, I'm exhausted and whatever, like maybe that opportunity is coming, or maybe you need to kind of seek that opportunity out and really find like.
Well, it's going back to what we were talking about earlier with the vision.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the vision of the company? I use this example in my workshop. If somebody came to me and said, hey, Evan, we could sell coffee right outside the salon, we can make tons of money. Like the profit margin is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I would look back and I'm like, does that impact people through beauty? No. So that's not an avenue we're going to go.
Right.
If someone in our company is like, hey, I'm very passionate about weddings. I'm very passionate about making people feel beautiful on their wedding day. Is this something that I could like take over and lead? I'd look back at our vision and be like, does that impact people through beauty? Yes.
Yeah.
So I think so someone who's wrestling with that, I would make sure that I'm in the right place that has that avenue of, and we're the type of company where it's like, if it's fitting in the vision, and like we had someone want to do lashes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know jack about lashes,
Mm-hmm.
nor did my wife.
Yeah.
But she was like, hey, I'm going to go get certified. I'm going to go do all this stuff. We're like, does it fit under our vision? Absolutely. Go do it. So we closed off our waiting area, made it a lash lounge, and she basically runs that lash area.
That's
like,
awesome.
I've been in there to see her do the staff's lashes, and I'm like, that would drive me bonkers.
Yeah.
I would sit there and shake.
I can't. Like, I cannot. And I can't even, like, go get it done because I'm like, I can't lay there that long. Like, they would be like, please shut up. They'd have to, like, sedate
they'd be like, quit
They'd be
talking,
like, seriously,
please.
here's your pill, go to sleep. There's no way I could do it. But I love that. And I think you being open as a salon owner, I think I've noticed that salon owners that have been in the industry for a very long time sometimes have trouble with that kind of change. And it's, like, completely overthought. Like, it's overthinking it when you just made it so simple to say, whoop, does it? Yep. Okay, let's go. And I think you can't say yes to everything for sure. And you have to do what's right for your company. But I do think that being open to that and just, you're going to keep that employee happy. Like there's so many benefits of that is you show that you respect that employee and what they want to do. Because if you say no, chances are she's going to go do it somewhere else, you know, if that's something that she's passionate about and wants to do. So I think having that mindset of really like, that's one of the changes I'm seeing in the industry. And one of the things that I think like we're just at this divide right now is you have people doing it the way that it's always been done, right? And you have certain commission salons that aren't changing anything that they've ever done. Well, that's not going to work. Right now, I think we know that. We can say like doing it the way that's always been done is just not, we're not there anymore, you know? And so you've got to give a little bit. And I think that what I love about you doing that is it's something little. It's something that benefits you. It's something that's good for the salon too. But what it does for that stylist or that person that wanted to do this is probably something that like, I don't even know if you know the impact, you know, like I don't know if she's ever voiced that.
And they have more buy-in in the company.
Mm-hmm.
Like who doesn't want their voice heard in their company?
Right, exactly.
You know? And that's one thing that we try to do in our company every day. We have We communicate daily, weekly, monthly. We have monthly one-on-ones. So like we do company evals, they do self evals. So we're constantly, we feel like that we have a great pulse on our company. And if anybody wants to speak up, well, they can speak up. Like there was, I remember one-on-one where she came in there and she was like so nervous and she was like, and I was like, hey, what's on your mind? She's like, well, I'm just going to go out and say it. Can I drop a Thursday evening? Yeah, drop Thursday evening. She was like, I was like, have you been worried about this? She's like, yes. And I was like, yeah, like don't be stressing over this stuff.
Yeah.
You can do, because our vision for our staff is for them to win at home before they win at work, which sounds beautiful, right? It looks great up on a wall, but it's tough as a leader when you're trying to run a business and then somebody's asking for a Thursday night off, but you got to go back to your why. What's our vision? Is this going to help her win at home? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's get you winning at home, because if they're not winning at home, they're not going to win at work.
Yeah.
And so that's where you have to get personal. I hear salon owners say, or just people in general, hey, leave your personal things at the door. I'm like, I know what you mean by that, but basically what you're saying is, I don't care what's going on in your personal life. I need your performance. And there's such a more beautiful way to say that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, bring it in the office. Let's talk about it. But let's not take it out on the floor,
right?
For the guests.
Yeah.
So there's multiple ways. And when you start caring for people and their voice is heard, you start to get a beautiful representation of your company, who it is, and the guests start seeing it.
Yeah.
And when the guests start seeing it, they're just like, wow, this is different than the other places I've been.
Yeah.
It's like they see teamwork. They see people smiling. They see people engaging in a conversation that somewhere else that it's like makes the guests feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I read a book a few years ago. So if you take care of your staff will take care of your guests. And so I always thought our guests were our number one priority, but it's our staff.
100%.
And once I started to make that change, I was like, oh, like it's been a game changer since. Luckily, I learned it early on, and not like when I was like 55.
Right. Well, I love that. I think that's awesome. And I think that speaks to what so many people are going through and feeling right now. And that simple mindset change can really make a huge difference. So when you're hiring, let's talk about what you're looking for. So coming into a salon, I think that we can all be honest enough to say that like, not everyone is a fit for your salon. You're not a fit for every stylist, right?
Yeah.
So what are you looking for? What are some tips that you can give? And how do you handle those hard conversations of just being like, of looking for somebody who is going to be a fit? I think a lot of the frustration of salon owners right now is, we're hiring, we poured into you, and they leave. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that, you and I have talked about this before. That's why I wanted to ask you this, but I really like the way that you hire and what you look for. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, first off, one thing that set me free, a mentor told me this. He was like, everybody leaves. They're going to retire. They're going to go to another salon. They're going to move. They're going to die. Like, everybody's going to leave.
Yeah,
So once
thank you for that positive note.
Yeah,
by the way.
I know, right?
They're going to die. All right, everyone's going to die.
The end.
The end. Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.
Check out my Instagram. But once I realized these are not my employees, these are people that are underneath my care, and I've got to steward them the best I can. So when I walk into a school, it's so funny because I'll walk in and I don't know hair. Like, I can tell you if somebody's hair is jacked up or if it's really great. But I go into school and they're like they have this, I went the other week and they're like, oh, I'm doing this balayage. Blah. And I'm like, and they show me their portfolio. And in my head, I'm like, I don't care.
Right.
I don't care. Like, we're going to teach this. So that's one thing I need to preface. We have an artist academy. It's 6 months training. They work with an educator and there's classes and they have to graduate. So I have to preface that because we don't care about their technical skill at all. What we're looking for is humble, hungry, hardworking, nice, coachable people. Humble, hungry, hardworking, nice, coachable people. You give me somebody with those 5 things, like, they'll take over the world. And we could teach you how to blow dry and how to cut and how to color, as long as you have those 5 things. So that's what we're looking for in our company.
So when you're interviewing, you're scoping that out. How soon do you kind of make I mean, do you spend time with them? Do you put them through the academy before you
So
decide that, or does that happen before you bring
well,
them
we
on?
have a 7-step interview process.
Okay.
So it's long.
Holy cow.
We don't meet with them 7 times.
Okay.
Let me see if I can remember all steps.
Okay.
So the first one is I meet with them 30 minutes one-on-one. I can basically get a good vibe if they're a fit. During that time, I'm like, hey, where do you see yourself? And, like they don't, it's crazy to me how people don't do research on our company before they interview.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're like, oh,
especially when you have so much information out there about your company. I feel like that's the other thing too. Yeah. It's not like you just started an Instagram yesterday,
right. Another thing that blows my mind is they're like, oh, I want to do commission, then booth rent. And I'm like, well, we don't do, why would you say that?
They say that in the
Oh yeah. They're like, well, I'm like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? They're like, oh, I want to own a salon. I'm like, okay, I love your passion.
Is that an immediate no for you?
No, it's not. Because my wife wanted to own her own salon. You hit her up on the right day, she'll sell it to you. But I think there's that passion, but I think there's a lot of things that they don't see.
Right.
And
yes.
we're maybe a little too transparent with our employees.
I don't know if that's possible. I feel like that's exactly what I want you to be as honest with me as possible.
Well, for our building that we're building, we've done like 5 or 6 scenarios. And I'm like, we probably should have let them in like near the end because they probably don't think this thing is going to be built.
Right.
They're probably going to walk in on the first day and be like, is this ours? I'm not sure. So the first interview is just me and them. I get a good vibe if I'm like, yeah, I like this person. They probably fit our culture. Second one is a group interview. So we have a lead team in our company. So I like to have one of our lead team people in that interview, as well as other people that want to be a part of the interview process. The third one is we do a shadow day. I told you I'm stretching myself here. The fourth one, we check their references, which is usually turns out pretty well. Mm-hmm. I did have one, I called the salon owner and I knew him. He said, you will make one of your biggest business mistakes if you hire them. I was like,
oh my gosh.
I'm glad I called.
Yes. I know, because usually you put down people that you know are going to say nice things, right?
Dave Ramsey,
isn't that what we're doing? I thought that's what we were doing.
Dave Ramsey, he's like, check for references because he's like, hopefully they'll put down people that will say great things.
But if they don't, then that's a big sign.
Yeah.
If you don't do that and you left somewhere thinking that you were fine and you weren't, then that's something that's okay.
Then we do an Enneagram test to kind of see their personality, who we're going to match them up with as an educator.
Wait, was I in the process?
Yeah.
Is that why you told me to do that?
Yeah, you didn't make it all the way through. You didn't make it all the way through. And then we do, I think that's 6. Oh, we give them a job description to let them see what the job description is. And the 7th one's my favorite. We do dinner with them and their spouse if they have one. And so that's more of like, hey, this is our culture. This is our vibe. And I'm also seeing how they treat the waiter or waitress, how they, with their spouse, see if they're married to crazy or not.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things. And I think we've only been to the dinner twice and not hired them.
Okay.
So it's a very lengthy, it's not like you're looking for a position next week, you're going to get hired.
I mean, that's incredible because I think most places that we've even traveled recently, everyone's just hiring. Everyone's hiring, come on in. I feel like that's a mistake. I don't think, obviously, if there's clear signs that something's wrong or if it's not a good fit, I don't think they are, but everyone is in such need of stylists. So how often are you hiring? How often are you bringing somebody new on?
All the time.
Okay.
We just hired a guy, the first guy in our company. And
fun.
He's probably not going to get licensed because he's been graduated. Probably not going to get licensed till late November. But we're just like, this guy's an all-star. We got to get him on the team.
So you're not let's fast track this. Let's get you in. You understand.
No, you don't. Don't fast track. I've done that. I've wanted to do that twice.
But don't you think that that's what's happening? When you're.
Oh yeah, you can breathe.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a pulse. Get in.
Yeah.
I'm just like, we were doing that. I'll be honest and super transparent. I took pride in, we were hiring 5 people at a time. And I was just like, yeah, we're growing.
Get them in. Let's go. Yeah.
It almost destroyed our culture.
Yeah.
And we were getting our company eval back and people were like, hey, I feel like we're making bad hires. And it's just like, oh, so we just kind of pause. And the great thing, if you stick to the process of the 7 steps, the great thing is nobody says, Bobby, you made a bad hire. Because everybody was involved. Like they came for a shadow day, their group interview, that dinner. Like there was sometimes I'm not in the shadow day, a group interview or the dinner. I'm just in that initial one.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was, once I had to like slow down, I'm like, our culture right now is really, really great. I'd rather have, I guess let's back up. Like if you're sitting there in your salon owner and you're like, I need to grow. I'd first look at why do you exist? Back to the vision.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to bring people in that fit that vision.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm going to work on tomorrow is the staff core values. Like, what do you value in your staff? Like, and the great thing is when you hire or let people go, I look at the core values and I'm just like, hey, these are the core values. It's not, Bobby, I love you. I think you're great. I want you to succeed. But right now, you're not pursuing our core values. And so we're going to meet weekly, or maybe this is the end of the road where you're not going to be employed here anymore.
Yeah.
But it takes what I feel out.
Mm-hmm.
So the staff core values, and I only teach like, let's just have 3.
Yeah.
You're not going to remember more than 3.
Easy. Yeah. We're not going to get to the 7 steps, okay?
Right. Yeah. If you got like 10 core values, I'm like,
yeah,
you can't recite those back to me if you tried.
Yeah. I've had a lot of conversations with you, and you said a lot of things that have stuck with me, but I think that the message that like I want to get out from you is what we just talked about. I think that that's the most valuable. I think the most people salon owners need to hear exactly what you just said. I think that we just overcorrected. I think that we've just, come on, get in, let's go. Like, just like take them through. Well, then you end up miserable. Your staff's miserable. You lose good people because of those things. So I think, and I don't know if it's just, who we've kind of been around, or just like, traveling so much, I've seen that this is just such a common thing.
Yeah. Well, we don't have structures and systems to handle that.
Yeah.
So like this table right here, can they see this table on camera? Yes, no? Okay.
There's a table here. Pretend there's a table in front
of us.
All
right,
us.
So think, for instance, if I had a table that was this big, and I took a jar of Skittles, which represents staff, guests, all that, and I poured it on the table, well, they're going to fall off the table, right? That table represents leadership. Well, you don't have the leadership to handle the people coming in,
right,
or the systems and structure. But if we went over to a large dining table and I dumped those Skittles, they would stay on the table. And so before you think about, I need more people in my salon, I think we need to pause and say, okay, I need to develop myself as a leader. And that might be, it's coordinated financially, because sometimes salon owners can't step back from the chair.
Yes, right.
It's like my money, only 5% of salons are profitable. So a lot of that income's going right back into the business.
Right.
But I think that's where I helped when I came into the salon, is like getting structures, getting systems where it can operate and click, where when my wife and I are not in the salon, everybody knows. So like I created a staff hub website, which is an internal website that has time off. Like if you need anything, if you missed the educational class, it'll be on there. If you need to know what our upcoming dates are, it's on there. The front desk schedule is on there.
And you do your meetings. So weren't we talking about that last time? Like, don't you do meetings that are like virtual, but they can go back and watch them?
Right. So
like,
we do weekly meetings.
Yeah.
And I record them on Sundays, and they're scheduled to go out Monday at 10 a.m. So it's basically, here's our goal last week. This is what we did. And it goes.
And you're not having them come in, right?
No.
Wasn't that the thing that you were trying to like?
But trying to get everybody in, like with our split shifts and everything. It was just too much. And I'm like, hey, would it serve you guys best if I just recorded one that was like 10 minutes long? They're like, that'd be great. And we go over reviews, celebration, updates, the front desk schedule for the next 2 weeks. You know why? Because I would forget that we didn't have someone scheduled on Thursday evening. And I'm like, Evan.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I do that for myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, here's the front desk schedule. We got such and such here and there. And we go through it. And then we go through our promos every week. So usually by the second or third week, everybody knows our promos, because I talked about it for 8 weeks. So, this is our deep treatment that's on sale for the next 8 weeks. So it's just, you can't over communicate. Over communication is a myth. Yeah. So we communicate twice daily in a daily or shift meeting. We communicate weekly in that meeting, and we communicate monthly as a team, and we communicate one-on-one each month. And the company eval in December, we scored a 7 out of a 10 on communication, which is a D.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like, there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if we scored a 7 out of a 10, we're communicating that much.
Yeah.
What were we scoring before we did all that? You know? So as the company grows, there's got to be structures and systems to uphold that.
Yeah.
When the salon was, 5 stylists, that was a whole different ball game than it was when you have 22, 23 people on staff. You got to have structures and systems.
Yeah. So I know as you've grown, obviously that affects the number of stylists that you have, or like what you need to make or what you're bringing in, all that stuff. The new space, is there a happy spot for you for number of employees that you have? Or are you just like, we're going as much as we can, as big as we can? Or are you like, we'll stop at this point? How do you think about that?
It's a great question. So I was asked this question one time. The guy said, how big do you want to get, like grow? And I was like, first thing I was like, number wise. And I was like, I think I might limit myself if I say a number. So I sat down one night, my wife and I, and we wrote out why we started Silver Salon. It's a paragraph. And it's basically like, we want to be a place where marriages thrive, where people can be professional, where we can all get along and be a positive environment, where we focus on leadership and culture. And it goes on and on and on. I was like, as many people that want to be a part of that is what we'll take. If it's 5, that's 5. If it's 500, we'll take 500. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like I think a lot of salon owners would get, I got to have 15 stylists. And you might to break even, you know, I don't know the situation. But if we could back up and say, this is what we're about, as many people want to be a part of that, then that's where we'll be. But you got to have the leaders. If we start another location, we're going to have to develop a leader inside the company, which we have a leadership development program. And we got to take that person and say, hey, Bobby, you've been doing a phenomenal job. We're doing a location in Knoxville. Mm-hmm. Can you go lead that? And you'll probably be like, what do I do? Say, do for others as we've done for you. Mm-hmm. You know? And that's an integrity part where it's like, I say that to our leaders because as we grown in our company, we started a care chart. So it's kind of like an org chart, but like I can lead about 7 people, like effectively. Mm-hmm. Managing and leading are different. But I was just like, okay, if we have 22, 23 people on staff, I can't lead all those people.
Right.
So we had our lead team. They each lead 2 or 3 people. So we know what's going on. Like we never want anyone in our company to leave. Be like, they just didn't care for me. My life was falling apart and nobody asked. And I think that's where after the pandemic, I think before the pandemic was very vital, but after the pandemic, people are like, I want to be a part of a cause. I want to have a purpose. And I want that company to be there for me. Because Gen Zs, a lot of them saw their parents in the recession in 2008 lose their jobs. Mm-hmm. They're like, my parents have worked for this company for 30 years. And they just cut them like that.
Yeah.
And Gen Zs are like, I want to know if it gets tough, are you going to be there for me?
Yeah.
Or are you just going to cut me like the company cut my parents, you know?
Right. And that, I think that, like you said, I mean, you have to like live that and you have to like, that takes time to develop that trust. And you just have to constantly show that, just like that person that came to you and asked for a Thursday night, like it's kind of like raising kids, like where you have to understand that your reactions are going to be how they react to things, you know?
It's joyful and exhausting.
Right.
But it's a good exhausting.
It is.
It's almost like, we've heard you hear people say, well, if you take people out of it, God, this would be so easy.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be so rewarding.
No, not at all. And I think that's what's so cool about what you're doing.
It's your why. Why do you do what you do? If it's just hair, then working with people are going to be frustrating. Yeah. But if it's to develop people, then, every day is a new day and there's something beautiful every day. And so is it frustrating sometimes? Absolutely.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, I love that, Evan. Evan, you shared so much that I'm literally just like thinking in my head, like all of the cuts that I want to make to be like this. Make sure we put out all of these different points that you made, because I think that the things that you're saying are so valuable. So where can we follow you? Where can we kind of see what you're doing or get more information? I mean, I think that people can get you to come into their salon.
Yeah, I would love to.
So tell everybody where they can.
So I made it really easy, mainly for me. My website is evansilver.co, and that's my Instagram handle. I believe it's my TikTok handle. So everything on my website's there. Instagram is kind of where I hang out. I love doing workshops. Love it. And I do one-on-one coaching. There's not like a cookie cutter way to coach. Everybody has different needs.
Yeah.
And so I do a discovery call that's complimentary, and it's basically to see if I'm a right fit for you. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes I'm not the right fit for them.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
Yeah.
And then in that call, it's just like, hey, what do you need help with? Oh, your retail sales. Great. Let's do a workshop on retail. Bring your salon in. I have to make it interactive. Like if I'm just sitting there talking for 3 or 4 hours, it's like boring, so I try to make it very interactive because I'm talking to artists.
Right.
And so I'm a musician at heart, so I kind of have that artist brain as well.
I love what you say at heart. We didn't get into it, but like there's a backstory there. We'll talk about it next time you come on. Can we, next time you come on, like dress in our emo outfits? Like, can I get you to do the swoop again?
Oh yeah, the swoop.
And I will like have the raccoon hair and the really dark eyeliner that I had when
I thought it was a good idea one time to color my hair right here, just strips, just blonde. I was like, that looked really cool.
Why did you go how long was it?
My hair was
Why did you go all the way?
Because I had long hair. And I just did 2 blonde, and it looked like I had dog ears. Like, everybody's like, you got dog ears. I instantly regretted it.
I love that. So if we hit 100,000 views on this interview, we will show the picture. I think that's fair.
Oh, yeah, we definitely show the
picture.
I thought you were going to say we're going to do my hair like that.
No, you already did that in your salon. I didn't want to make you edit
going
again.
blonde is it's more fun, but it's way more maintenance.
It is more fun. Nobody's ever said that before. Nobody's ever let anyone know that blondes have more fun.
Yeah, I know.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited for everything you're doing in the industry. And like we were talking before about how all these ideas are happening. Now I'm like, what are we going to do? Like I have so many things I want to try now. So thank you for being here, and make sure you go follow Evan. Make sure you follow us at Beauty and Style Network on Instagram. Make sure that you like, subscribe, get notified when these episodes are coming out. If you're listening on podcast, make sure you leave us a 5-star review and follow me at Beauty School Bobby, and we will see you next time, guys. Bye.